So there was the bathroom rule at the time in school was like you could go twice a day, and you had to get your booklet signed by a teacher to be able to go. You had to carry your booklet with you, and this is a similar thing in most schools, I think. But and and I would just like if a kid already had his book signed twice for the day, I'm supposed to tell him no, you can't. Like what? So I just didn't sign book. I just like let kids go.
You're just
basically.
like, just go.
And that I caught heat for that. Like I would catch heat for like letting kids go to the bathroom, or like letting too many kids go at once or something like that. And I understand that there's like, kids are going to the bathroom to vape, or they're going to the bathroom to fool around, or they're going to the bathroom because they don't really have to go to the bathroom to avoid doing something else. But like, I don't know, man. What I'm seeing now, like there's a lot of kids who like have like legitimate social anxiety problems or panic disorders or something, who like need to step out of the classroom at points because there's nowhere else in school where you can be alone for a second besides the bathroom. And so kids will use the bathroom as like an escape for a minute when they need a breath. And, to tell them they can't do that it's crazy. I mean, it's like, I've said it before, but like some of the things that I was made to do or expected to do were like stripping rights away from human people, and that's how I looked at it. I was like, if I'm telling a kid he can't go to the bathroom, like that's a very basic function of life that I'm taking away from someone, and that's a power I don't want, and just other thing, along with going to the bathroom, like telling a kid they can't like have a snack when they're hungry, or you can't have a drink of water right now. Like it's prison, like I felt a lot like a prison guard a lot of the time. Can't do this, can't wear that, can't say that thing. And there was all these things starting to wrap up that started rubbing me the wrong way about the disciplinarian aspect of it. I've never particularly like the classroom management stuff. I used to just think I was like bad at classroom management because I'm not like a hard-nosed disciplinarian guy. But really it's just not in my nature to like tell other people what they have to do. I don't like that for myself, and I don't want to tell other people what they have to do either. And so that doesn't sit well when you're a public school teacher or a teacher in a traditional school system. Like most of the job is telling other people what they have to do, And so I started looking at ways to like introduce more freedom and autonomy into my classroom, give more choices and things like that. And took it to I went to some pretty extreme levels of that. Like I developed a plan to eliminate numbered grading from my class, where like, you wouldn't get an A or a B on a test. You would I would give you lots of different options for how to show me what you know, and then we would have a conversation about how well you showed what you knew, and then we would agree on a grade, basically, was what it was going to be. Like, and if somebody told me they deserved an A when they did nothing, well, then we have to have a conversation about like what that is, and we'll come to an agreement that like you probably don't deserve an A, and maybe you deserve a C or a D, and whatever. I had this whole plan. I worked it up, and then I presented it to administration. They told me I couldn't do it. You had to give. I think they said I had to give at least one grade a week, is what they said. And so, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that I didn't have this control to like run my classroom the way I wanted to. So that was another thing. And then just some kids that were, like I mentioned before, just like really bright kids, clearly, obviously bright kids who would have a bright future doing whatever they wanted to, as long as they didn't like ruin it by taking the wrong path somewhere along the way, right? Like when you're in a public school setting, like if you're not doing everything you're told to do, then you're labeled a troublemaker, and then that knocks down this whole set of dominoes that leads you to like a situation where you're doing some kind of job that you hate for very little pay, you know what I mean? Or maybe you don't have a job at all, you're a criminal, whatever it is. But these were bright kids who had interests and goals that weren't able to shine through because, they have a set curriculum and set of standards that they have to follow because somebody else said they had to do it. And if they're not interested in that, well, too bad. Like this is the way to succeed. Do this, this, and this. And if you try anything else to succeed, that ain't going to work, you know? And I just didn't sit right with me that like, I felt like there was like a better way. There's got to be a better way to do this. And I knew that I couldn't obviously I can't change the public school system or the traditional school system on my own. Most teachers are like either bought into the system or know there's problems with it, but can't fix it. Just got to do what we got to do. And so you can't, I realized that I have to separate myself from this system. If I want to do it a different way, I have to separate from this system and try something different. And so I was looking at different ideas for, I started looking at like opening a school, basically, which, if you want to actually open a school, like an accredited school where people get a diploma, it's a very long process. You still have to, so if you're going to do that in Illinois, you're still bound by, curriculum regulations and content standards. And then you have to get into standardized testing and all that sort of stuff, which is another problem that I had was like, I was teaching science and my subject always took a back seat to the math and the reading because math and reading is what's on the standardized test, but to some kids, science is way more important than, in some other subject that might be on the test, but the school doesn't see it that way. So, I was looking at like opening a Sudbury school. I bought a book called Starting a Sudbury School, which a Sudbury school is like a democratic schooling method where the kids have lots of freedom and they make all the choices for the school. They have a school council. Everybody's a member of this council. They meet every day and they, make decisions about the school together. They vote on them. Everything's done democratically, including like hiring and firing of the staff is done by the kids, which is really kind of crazy, but also pretty cool. But, like basically if you're like not a cool teacher that the kids don't like, well, they're going to vote you out, So that was kind of neat. But again,
that'd make
that's
a good
school,
reality show, by the way.
Yeah, right. It would. So, that's a school. So I started looking into these other options. I was trying to work on starting a democratic school, but it just seemed like a lot. And so then I found this TED Talk by a guy, Joel Hammond, who has a self-directed learning center called Canton Learning Collaborative in New Jersey. And his TED Talk was like basically what I've told, he felt the same way I did. He's like, all right, I'm going to start my own school. He looked into the process. It was 1,000,000 miles long. Just seems impossible, And so then he found North Star, which is a self-directed learning center in Massachusetts that Ken Danforth started in 1996. And it's not a school. It's basically, so it's a self-directed learning center. That's what this TED Talk was about, was don't start a school, start a self-directed learning center. Here's what it looks like. Here's how you do it. And by the end of that TED Talk, I was like ready to run outside and just like go do it. And that's what I did. So, basically what we have now is Canton Learning Collaborative. It's a self-directed learning center for teenagers. It's not a school. I guess the best way to maybe describe with words succinctly what it is that it's a nonprofit homeschool resource center for teenagers.